So the ISA has been one of the most popular and the most well-known tools for all of us to save tax-free, and they've become the gold standard since they were introduced and launched over 25 years ago. But the UK government is actually considering sweeping reforms and rewriting the ISA rules, and many experts warn that these changes could impact the 18 million ISAs that are currently open in the UK. So with the spring statement being announced on the 26th of March, could these changes signal the end of tax-free savings as we know it? And will the ISA then be sacrificed on the altar for economic growth? So in this week's video, I'm going to walk you through the background to these proposed changes, as well as why the government are even considering these changes and how that's going to impact all of us. So welcome back to the channel, and if this is your first time, a very warm welcome. Hi, my name is Simon, and I'm a chartered financial planner with decades of experience helping hundreds of clients and their families prepare well in advance for their retirement. Now, we all know that money matters, so join me and together we're going to make money make sense. So we are all currently at a crossroads in the UK regarding our savings. As one of the most trusted pillars for tax-free saving, the ISA is now absolutely in the crosshairs of the government for reforms, which might mean that this 25-year success story is now very much at risk. Now, these proposed changes could force savers to move away from holding cash in their ISAs to much more riskier investments, to invest in the UK stock market as well as the UK economy at large, and that is hoped will drive innovation as well as growth. Now, if these changes do go ahead, they're going to impact literally millions of everyday people, pensioners and younger savers alike, and that is going to mean we're all going to have less choice, less flexibility, and more importantly, less freedom to choose how we all manage our savings. Now, for those of a certain age, the ISA replaced the very popular TESA and the PEP, and in 1999, under Gordon Brown, the ISA was born, and this has been the flagship savings vehicle for millions of people in the UK. Now, they are designed to encourage savings by offering tax-free growth on interest, on dividends, as well as capital gains. And that is a major advantage for those wanting to grow their wealth. Now, since their introduction, ISAs have been hugely popular, with over 18 million ISAs currently open, but there are approximately 8 million active cash ISAs with 421 billion, and a further 4 million active stocks and shares ISAs with a further 300 billion in them, totaling almost 730 billion pounds invested. Now that is a success story. Now, their tax-free status has made ISAs an essential tool for literally millions of us, all looking to safeguard our future. However, the government proposals could significantly limit their effectiveness, putting savers at risk of losing one of the most valuable tools and the greatest benefits that we have to save for our future. Now, one reason could be on the back of HMRC research, which shows the average ISA holding in the UK is just £13,400. And perhaps the government is thinking that anything over £10,000 should be invested instead. But you might remember the British ISA, which is going to be an additional £5,000 allowance, but that could only be invested in UK listed companies. But that was very quickly scrapped, as it was seen as pushing savers into the stock market, which is not suitable for everybody. Now, despite the FTSE 100 currently riding high at the time of recording this video, it has underperformed a globally diversified portfolio. So the British ISA may have meant lower investment returns over the longer term. Now, for more cautious savers, especially those who rely on cash ISAs, this raises a very worrying question. Is the government nudging people into more riskier investments? I'm going to come back to that in a few minutes, but let me know in the comments below how you would feel if the current ISA rules were changed, and as well, what ideas would you have to promote a more investing-based culture in the UK? So let me provide some context and a bit more colour about the history of the ISA. Well, many people are going to be very familiar with the ISA limits of £20,000 per tax year, and that is going to be split between the various ISA options. But for most people watching this channel, it's going to be either a cash ISA or a stocks and shares ISA. But there's also a junior ISA, and that comes with a 9,000 contribution limit every tax year. Now, these limits were introduced in 2017, and they're going to be in place till at least April 2030. But since July, the government narrative has gone from we've inherited the worst economic conditions since the Second World War to we've now discovered a £22 billion black hole to now we need to go further and faster for growth. Does any of that sound familiar? So if you're finding value so far in this video about the proposed ISA reforms and what they may mean for the end of tax-free saving as we know it, then please give the channel a like and subscribe. You can also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of this weekly content, and you can help us grow this community throughout 2025, and you are more than welcome to come along for the ride. Now, far be it from me on this channel to suggest that the government wants to get their hands on your £420 billion in cash ISAs to create an economic growth and to do their job for them. So let's go back to the question about, is the government preferring that we invest in more riskier assets? Now, the left-leading think tank, the Resolution Foundation, has called the ISA an ineffective savings account, which is likely to cost the Treasury about £6.7 billion in tax relief. Now, Rachel Reeves is said to be open to new proposals despite various articles in the press and as well in the media about warning against such a move. Now, the Bank of England has slashed their growth forecasts in half from just 1.5% to 0.75% in 2025. And there are real concerns that we might be facing a 1970s style stagflation. And this is a toxic mix of weak growth, high on inflation, and rising unemployment. And the OBR has also lowered their growth forecast for the UK to just half of 1% for 2025. In fact, figures out this morning show that the UK growth in Q4 2024 was just 0.1, missing a recession by the smallest of margins. So perhaps now you can see why getting access to our cash savings is very attractive and very useful for the government. Now, we all know it's not possible to tax your way to a healthy and to a growing economy, but what other levers could the Chancellor pull to invest in the UK and to create growth? Well, there have been many influential people suggesting that an ISA should be reformed to boost investment into companies which are listed in the UK stock market. Now, the thinking behind that is that we should not be incentivized with tax breaks just to hold cash instead of taking investment risk. In fact, some people have asked, why should holding cash cost the Treasury and get the same tax treatment as if the investment was invested in global equities? In fact, Emma Reynolds, the City Minister, has said, why do we have hundreds of billions of pounds in cash ISAs? Clearly, we have failed to drive an investment culture in the UK. Strong words indeed. Now, even the financial services regulator, the FCA, is concerned about us having high cash balances rather than having the money invested instead. Now, this leads to the possible conclusion that the tax incentives that we currently enjoy in our cash ISA, for example, may be reduced or even removed in favour of more riskier investments. For example, could a cash ISA be limited to just £5,000 whilst the £20,000 limit could remain for a stocks and shares ISA? Now, millions of us rely on our cash ISAs for stability, and these offer us a safe place to store our money whilst it's still earning interest, but without the risks associated with the stock market. Now, many pensioners, as well as risk-averse savers, depend on this certainty. Now, if cash ISAs were phased out or even reduced, these savers will be forced into investments which might not be suitable, that they don't understand, they're not comfortable with, and that could put their future financial security at risk. Now, we all know that there are absolutely no guarantees in the stock market, and whilst it's historically grown over time, it also comes with the potential for losses. So any changes to the ISA rules and the ISA regime would represent a seismic shift in personal finance, prioritizing investment over security and placing the burden of risk directly on the shoulders of savers. Should we all be worried? Well, these ISA reforms are still under discussion, but the potential consequences cannot be ignored. If approved, they could fundamentally alter how millions of us save, invest, and plan for our futures. So what can we all do? So if you're unsure about whether an ISA or a pension is right for you, then I've linked here a video to explain the advantages and the disadvantages of both, and another video about why we are so close to having a recession in 2025 and why the government needs to boost growth and quickly. So thank you so much for watching to the very, very end, and thank you for your time and for your patience as always. I'm going to see you all again next week.